Hello everyone, my name is Loko and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now today, it's time for a top level game of Zerg versus Terran where we find ourselves on the map Oxide. Spawning here in the top right hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have Serral. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Terran SCVs, he goes by the name of Clem. Alright. Now, I mean, if you've been watching this channel for a while, these players really do not need any additional introductions, right? Let's just take it from me in case you're unfamiliar. They're both ridiculously good. Serral, obviously, more successful throughout his career just because of the fact that he's been around for quite a bit longer and because of the fact that he used to be the world champion of StarCraft 2, right? Like, he's won practically everything over the course of like a year and a half or so. He didn't really lose. And while he looks a little bit more mortal these days, he's still an absolute legend and ridiculously good at the game. Clem, in that way, a bit more of an up-and-comer, but I think that's mostly due to his age. So he's currently 18 years old, still very good, still getting better as well, it seems, which is just ridiculous. He was doing some streaming the other day, and there were a couple of highlight clips going around the internet. Let's just say that Clem, he has got some of the most ridiculous mechanics ever. There was this one clip where he was defending at home, and then he was microing 2 medivac drops at the same time as well, and he never goes above 200 minerals. It's just insane. In order to, he was also like popping banelings and stuff with one of the medivac drops. So right-clicking on all of the banelings individually and stuff. Like ridiculous mechanics. He's super good, super fast. So I think we should be in for a treat. Let's see what ends up going down here. So, we do find ourselves on Oxide. Now, I know I say this every single time that I cast a Zerg versus Terran on Oxide, but the fact of the matter is that this map is kind of bad for Zerg in general. It's mostly due to the fact that there's a lot of really good rocks that you can abuse as a Terran player. So, say for example, right, you're a Zerg player and you're trying to push into this location over here. A couple siege tanks in key locations can get so much damage done, more so than on the other maps. The same can be said if, for example, okay, he decides to go for the third over here on the low ground. But say, for example, Serral decides to take the third over here, and he would expand horizontally from his natural and his main base. There's a lot of really nasty siege tank positions over here, too, that just make it super difficult to defend. So, I'm curious to see exactly what Serral decides to go for here. Most of the time, on this particular map, at least like over the last 2 months or so, I've seen a lot of Zerg players play a Roach Ravager. So Roach Ravager seems to be the go-to on this particular map, but maybe Serral has got some other plan. We'll see. Because of that, though, I don't really expect Clem to play anything out of the ordinary. So he's already got himself, of course, that command center going up. There's a reactor here after a Reaper and then after a Marine. He even built a bunker at the front. So that is a, yeah, pretty safe bunker there. Making sure that he's not going to get cheesed here. It's fine, right? It's a relatively small investment. I mean, you delay things ever so slightly. Ooh, he's got the little polar bear once again. I love the polar bear, man. It's fantastic. Anyways, he's going to be able to go for the switcheroo, and now he goes for the third command center really quickly. I like this third command center timing a lot. So you can still follow this up with, for example, like a starport and then a tech lab, right? And you go for some benchy play if you really want to. So that probably gives you one of the most macro-focused starts as a Terran player. So you have triple command center really early. Oh, okay, he decides to go second barracks, which I like a lot too. But you can also simultaneously defend against a lot of Roach-based plays. So, obviously, if you can get yourself a couple of benchies out, Roach-based openers are just going to be, yeah, shut down a little bit more smoothly. Now, I don't mind this idea either. So, he goes really quick third command center and then into a second barracks and then probably Stimpak. Yep, there it is. Okay, so Stimpak is fantastic here too, because if, for example, right, Serral decides to go for a Roach all-in, he will probably hit right around like the 5-minute mark. Right around the time, basically, that the... nice timing, by the way, right there on these two Hellions. He knew that the drone was going to spawn there. But yeah, the Stimpak upgrade is going to finish up right around the same time as a potential Zerg push would come in. I don't think Serral is really going to go for that, but at least theoretically, yeah, what Clem is doing here makes a lot of sense. Main reason why I don't think Serral is going to go for that is because usually if it's going to be a Roach-based all-in or at least some dedicated pressure, he would have already planted down the Roach Warren about 45 seconds ago or so. Alright, so clever opener right here, especially by the Terran player. I'm curious though to see what Serral decides to go for. So that's a 4.5-minute lair. I don't see a bailing nest yet. Okay, it goes double gas right now as well. Okay, well, singular gas apparently. Second gas goes up in the main base instead. Judging by the fact that he hasn't planted down a bailing nest yet, I think this has to be a Roach Warren really soon. Usually if you want to go... Okay, he goes double Evo right now. Normally if you want to go Roach Warren, you plant down the Roach Warren when the lair is about a third of the way to like halfway done. That way you can start up Roach speed relatively quickly. Yep, there it is. Okay. So there is a Roach Warren right now in the back of the natural expansion. Okay. Yeah, so both players going for a very macro-focused opener. Serral will be able to spot right now the third command center there as well, which is really nice. Even though the Zerglings here tried to work on the rocks for a bit, the Hellions decided to hang out on the high ground. So it's going to be +1/+1 into a relatively quick Roach speed as well. If you do this really well, you can make it so that you finish up all of those upgrades at once. So these upgrades do take a little bit longer than the Roach speed upgrade, so that's the Glial Reconstitution. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Serral decides to go for that upgrade relatively quickly. And he may very well need to start up a couple of Roaches as well, because Clem, even though he's got a relatively small army here, he hasn't really lost any units, right? So, okay. Gets himself a creep tumor or two. Not bad. He might even be able to get some work done with these Marines. A couple Hellbats right now as well. Okay, this is, yeah, nice dedicated push for sure. Now, Roaches are going to be available. Stimpack, obviously, though, is done, and that makes these Marines so much more powerful. Love the splitting up right here. Clem mostly just paying attention right now to the Marines, I'm sure. I mean, these Hellions and Hellbats, they're going to get some work done. A couple Queens end up getting killed here, but this is relatively low commitment. I think really all he lost there is just a couple of Hellbats. And Hellbats, obviously, well, once again, man, this is a great engagement right now for the Terran player. Yeah, those Hellbats are, you know, easily taken care of at this point. You don't really want to keep them around for too long either. This is nice. Yep, double Medevac. And here's what you can do, obviously, against an army that's not based around Banelings, Zerglings, and Mutalisks. You can run them around all of the time. Beautiful plays right here by Clem. That army seemed absolutely tiny when he first stepped onto the creep, but he knew better what he was doing than I was. Or than I would. Nicely done. Okay, that being said, Serral has been making all of these upgrades, right? Look at them. They're going to finish up. He will also be able to now go for a push if he wants to, because he still has non-stop Roach production going on. The only problem right now is that those two Medevacs are still here. I love what Clem is doing with them, too. I think a weaker Terran player probably would have flown... Why is there Reaper in there? I think a weaker Terran player probably would have already flown these two back home. But right now, Serral would love to go for a push. He's forced to now leave at least a bunch of units at home. Look at this. He's like, why won't you just go home? Oh, okay. So he starts up the Tunnel and Claws upgrade together with 2/2 and then also the Burrow upgrade. Okay. Yeah, so this is Serral basically saying timing window missed. He can still go for a push, but it's not going to be nearly as good. Because obviously his Roaches and Ravagers are just going to be... the same strength, but I think by the time he gets across the map, a 1-1 may very well finish up for the Terran player here as well. Alright, so it's going to be a second factory here pretty quickly as well for our Terran player, which I really like. I think second factory here makes a lot of sense. Being able to pump out the siege tanks 2 at a time is super helpful. He may very well decide to go for a push of his own now with 1-1 finishing up. I don't actually mind the idea. That being said, this is a pretty scary Zerg army. Serral hasn't really added on that many drones here in the meantime, ever since that first Medevac drop came in. He's now checking over here. Make sure that there's no super quick fourth base here from the Terran player. Ooh, Corrosive Biles. One of them connects right there with the Medivac, but that's not going to be enough. Alright, there's a big Terran army moving here on the left, though, and 1-1 is finishing up. He's going to be able to go straight into 2-2. Even starts up the armory upgrade right now for the siege tank as well, which is super helpful. Yeah. I've said it many times, right? But I think Roach Ravager, it's really nice. Oh, here, by the way. Oh, we have the Roach Tunnel and Claws coming up. Is this Bly playing or Serral? Hello. Well, I think that base is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Anyways, Roaches are everywhere. Over in the natural, there's a Medivac drop over at the third base of the Zerg. Fourth hatchery has already been killed, but that being said, there's also Roaches in the main mineral line. Lots of SCVs, I think, are going to end up going down here, but Serral is now stuck on 3 bases, which is a little bit risky. Roach is apparently over at the third base too, and they're still not being taken care of that well. Missile turrets obviously are super helpful. At the same time, there is a move out right here by the Clem player, by the Terran player here too. I guess the Clem player technically works. There's a couple of Infestors right here for a follow-up too. They don't have enough energy for fungal growth just yet, but while this is all happening, 22 of those SCVs have gone down. So no fourth base. He really needs to get another base up, man. No fourth base for the Zerg player yet. He ended up losing that one. But, yeah, not bad, all things considered. Here come the Infestors. Fungal growth. Okay, very nice fungal. Fungal is super powerful, of course. Roaches and Ravagers usually can have a hard time catching up to these Terran units, but you can't stutter step when you're Fungal. Nice little bit of damage being done. Corrosive Balls will be able to connect right there on top of that Siege Tank too. Alright. Fourth Command Center though. Ooh, you gotta morph that into a planetary, my man. Okay, he will. There's really not that many Siege Tanks though. Yeah, there's only 2 here in total, so Serral can definitely dart around. A couple of infestors over here as well in some dicey positions. They're scouting, I suppose. It's a little bit dangerous, but at the very least it's going to give him the heads up of exactly how many Terran units are wandering in this direction. Okay, Planetary is going to finish up. Reinforcing Roaches are heading on over towards that side of the map. In the meantime, the 4th base is going to finish up here as well for our Zerg player. Man, this is an entirely different kind of Serral than what we normally see. This is not the way he normally plays. I really like this. So how many SCV kills did he get? 27. Alright. 2-2 was started up here, by the way, as well by Clem, which is very important. Corrosive Balls once again on the Siege Tank. Sadly, one of them right there was just barely misclicked. At the same time, tunneled Roaches are moving on over towards this base here as well. Gotta be careful, though. Fungal growth can end the party here really quickly for the Terran player. There's still 2 infestors out there somewhere. Okay. Ooh, Roaches will be scanned on, so I guess eventually they'll be all picked off. Here comes the infestor, though. Pops out of the ground. Does have energy right here for Fungal, and there it is. No follow-up, sadly, though, with Corrosive Balls. Good split right there by Clem. Moving those Medivacs just barely out of the Corrosive Ball range. Transition is coming up, though, from Serral. He's got himself a Hive coming at this point. He's already built the Hydra Den, and now he's going to go into a Lurker Den as well. 4th base, obviously, has finished. He's going to be able to start up the eco for that area as well. And I think, yeah, indeed, that this drone is moving on over towards the 5th base location at the 3 o'clock position on the minimap. Okay. Both players relatively low eco, though. Considering the amount of bases that they're on, only 60-something workers is really not that much. Did he get any of the Hydra upgrades? No, he did not yet. Okay. Prioritizing Vipers instead, apparently, on the gas count. I don't mind it, but he does still have a lot of gas in the bank, so wouldn't mind seeing the transition as well towards maybe those upgrades for the Hydralisks. Anyways. Yeah, I think keeping up with the medevac drops is super helpful. I mean, it's difficult to decide that you want to commit like 20 supply worth of units towards the other side of the map when the Zerg player is playing so aggressively. But I feel like, especially what he did initially, right, with the first medevac drops that we saw in this particular game, he really kept the Zerg player occupied for so long. Look at these Roaches dancing over here as well. Serral is forced to split up his units preemptively. When you're playing Roach Ravager, you can't really run in that direction when you see the drop already landed, right? You need to have the units in the right place at the right time. So, yeah, keeping those medevac drops on just means that Serral is going to be forced to leave a lot of units at home. All right. 5th Command Center being floated over towards the bottom right-hand corner. The transition right now, though, from Serral, I mean, it's going to be Hydra, Lurker, Viper, right? And that's going to be one hell of a comp. Terran already transitioned right now as well to Ghost production, which I like a lot. Ghosts obviously very nice with their EMPs on those Infestors and Vipers. Ooh, okay, a couple Roaches will get killed. I think it's because Serral's looking right here at the army on the left side of the map. But they're also really good when it comes to sniping the Lurkers. So I think that this 5th hatchery is going to be in a lot of trouble. No way that that one will stay alive. Serral, instead of engaging over here, decides to back up, although he leaves one present behind, apparently. One Lurker is going to start shooting spines at that base. Top left-hand corner, still not acquired either. Man, this is now 4-base Zerg Eco to 5-base Terran, right? I mean, it's 5 Terran, or 5-base Terran with an asterisk next to it, because there's really not that many workers here available for our Zerg either, but Terran doesn't have that many. That's what I'm trying to get at. Alright. Here's the burrow speed, the adaptive talents upgrade here for those Lurkers. It's going to make them burrow quite a bit faster. Can he abduct a couple of siege tanks? He will. Marauder apparently also not meant for this world. Alright. Yeah, I think the Ghost transition here is wonderful. How many Ghosts are we at right now? 2? He's adding on 3 more. Nidus Worm, though, goes up in the corner of the main base. as this game progresses, Terran obviously is busy looking at this, like, battle, I guess, right? And he's also obviously splitting his units between all kinds of different angles. Is he gonna spot the Nidus Worm? He won't. There's Lurkers in there. So if the Lurkers burrow on top of the ramp, or at least in range of the ramp, they're gonna be able to kill a lot of stuff. This is an absolute disaster for the Terran player to have to deal with, because this takes forever. Lurkers can also hit the low ground here as well, which is always a little bit funny, but they can indeed shoot their spines from the high ground towards the low ground. Obviously, though, if that many Zerg units are stuck inside of the main base of the Terran, that does mean that Clem can potentially push forward here as well. He will be able to. A couple of Lurkers end up going down here. We do see a abduction right there as well on a Ghost, but I still look at this Terran army, and it is quite strong. Medevacs, though, basically for every single Terran unit on the ground that remains, but the Lurkers are still going to town inside of the main base of the Terran player, and this is where the production is, right? A couple of Ghosts apparently walk up the ramp, get a couple of snipes in, although I don't think they will not live for that long either. Third hatchery, though, has fallen. Nice move right there by Clem. Yeah, he's still pushing here, man. I think a lot of Terran players would have already tried to get these units back home, because this is very dangerous, right? This is where the production line of the Terran player is at. You can't really give this up. A lot of Hydras right now for the reinforcements as well. They don't seem to have their, well, they have their range, or sorry, no, they don't have their range upgrade, do they? I don't think so. Anyways, a little bit difficult for me to spend too much time right there on the mini-map, or sorry, on the production tab. Either way. Oh, this is a nice move by Serral. Yeah, he cleans up all of those siege tanks, and the Lurkers are still in the main base, although I think right now that Clem could start focusing more of his attention over there, they will all get picked up here. But that is an awful lot of damage here done by the Zerg. Yeah, so usually what happens... Man, he's not done yet. Usually what happens is that when, like, Terran expands all over the map, they will be forced to split their siege tanks and their armies, you know, on the outer bases, right? They're going to be forced to split those up so they don't lose them. But it also means that you are relatively far away from the main base, at least compared to earlier on. So I love this Lurker shenanigans inside of the main base. The Nidus Worm, yeah, dealing a ton of damage. Okay. So even though Serral was starting to fall behind really badly when it came to the supply count, he did secure another base. He's mining 4 right now. He's going to be able to get those Lurkers in a much better position right now too. Okay. Yep, that siege tank is going to be gone, and I've got a feeling that this base will end up falling very rapidly too. Planetaries obviously cannot be lifted. Oh, Infestor apparently sadly burrowed to its grave. That being said, Terran does still have, yeah, a pretty nice defensive position. There's 9 siege tanks set up. So even though the base in the bottom right-hand corner ended up going down, Clem does still have a healthy amount of command centers. He's going to go for the 3rd factory right now, too. Actually, no. Did he end up losing one? I think he must have ended up losing one. Where is it? Yeah, he ended up losing one. So it's, I guess, you know, the 3rd factory in total in this game. Either way, he does still have a very healthy ground army here. And it's going to be very difficult for Serral to continue putting on pressure. Whew. I think going for this base makes the most sense, yeah. Flying an orbital over in that direction. That Overlord was heading towards the main base to put up another Nidus, I suppose. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Zerg has decided that despite all the siege tanks, I mean, they're mostly over at the 3rd base, he's going to be able to overwhelm this planetary fortress as well. Yeah, planetaries as a Terran, right? They kind of can give you a false sense of security where you're like, okay, it's a planetary. I don't really need to put a whole lot of units there. But Zerg can kill it really quickly. Okay, one corrosive bile right there for good measure. Not entirely sure. You can see that Serral is starting to cycle this map absolutely wonderfully. Okay. I still want to emphasize the siege tank count, though. It's 8 siege tanks. There was only 1 tank over here. If Serral thinks that, like, Clem doesn't have a whole lot of them, he can be in a lot of trouble. Because you make one misstep and all of those Lurkers just blow up before they even burrow. Alright, well, I guess if you add on a lot more Lurkers, maybe that's going to be a little bit better. Okay. 2 Ravager hit squad over here. How many Ghosts are we at? 7 Ghosts right now. There's going to soon be 9 Ghosts and 9 Marines. Ghosts are actually super tanky. So usually the counter for Zerg to Ghosts is Banelings. But, yeah, there's no Baneling nest here available for our Zerg. So this is actually a little bit scary right now as well. If that, I love what Clem is doing here. If that Ghost count grows, you should be able to overwhelm a lot of this. Anyways, is it going to be in time, though? Ooh, a lot of siege tanks over here get spotted at the very least. Lurkers move on over towards the planetary fortress. You got to lift that, my man. It's going to get picked up really quickly. Ghosts now move forward as well. I love what Zerk is doing by standing the army on top of the Lurkers there for a little bit to make it more difficult to target with the snipes. Well, he's still going to get some good work done, though, by these Ghosts. And, well, apparently this is the moment where Serral decides to commit on top of this army. Blinding Cloud goes down on at least a couple of the siege tanks. Still, though, the tanks in the back are dealing a lot of damage, but they will also get picked up. More Lurkers on the high ground, once again available. We see snipes going down all over the place. What an absolute massacre on this battlefield. All right. So, the SCVs are still alive. I guess that's something. But there's a Nidus Worm over here spotting that there's nothing available in this section of the map anymore. Serral is pretty much everywhere. That being said, Ghosts... I mean, Ghosts are scary. Is there really going to be enough right now for Clem to continue sticking in his game? I think with Banelings, this would be... Yeah, I think with Banelings, this would be something that Serral might be able to overrun. The problem is, though, he needs to repair that, by the way. Okay, yeah. The problem is that Banelings are not cheap, and he's only at 72 drone eco, so it's not like he can just make a whole lot of them. I think what his plan is, yeah, I kind of like it. Just overwhelm this. Try and make it so that it doesn't get into the position. All of the Ghosts end up getting surrounded here. One Lurker dealing a lot of damage. That being said, Medivacs on the high, or on the air, I guess. Okay, they end up healing all of those Ghosts for quite some time. Ghosts have a lot of health when compared to when compared to Marines. So luckily right there for Clem, he keeps all of these alive. If these would have gone down, that would have been the end of the game. Okay. Man, that wraparound looks so good for the Zerk there, but the Medivacs, luckily here for Clem, they had a lot of energy. Okay. He's decided to, with his very, very meager army, to go for an attack right now. I do not know if I like it too much. He's stutter-stepping the Ghosts, trying to get them out of range here. Gets another snipe right now. You can always lift up and get on out of here, I guess, with the Ghosts as well. Man, this Ghost army is doing insane work, though. That's so nuts. Not Brenda, no! Have a heart, Clem! Oh, he considered it for a little bit anyway. Man, this is actually a sick army. So wait, this is 9 Ghosts and 8 Medivacs. Pretty awesome. Okay, he's gonna stim and scan right here to kill the Lurker that was over at this base. And actually, the small Ghost hit squad killed the base in the top left-hand corner. Serral only sitting at 106 supply, by the way. He doesn't have a good answer for this amount of Ghosts. He's now up to 11 Ghosts, that is. Pretty crazy. Yep, and even though finally Serral has enough to deal with them, he just picked up. He got him out of there. That being said, there's also a Lurker over at the one mining base that the Terran player has. At the same time, those Marines apparently have cleaned up the Lurker. Yeah, they're going to be picked up pretty easily, too. Lurker on the left will end up getting killed. Clem, though, is starting to run dangerously low here on money, right? So, yeah, he's got a decent amount of workers, 39 in total, but they're oversaturated on one base. Plus, there's mules there. I mean, his eco is going to be okay for a little bit, but that expansion is going to mine out super fast. All right, Serral retaking the base in the top left. 3 o'clock is going to run out pretty quick as well. He can consider moving on over towards the bottom right, but we're getting to the position as well where Zerk doesn't get that much income, and yeah, it's going to be hard to hold on to any of these bases. Okay, I think you're supposed to burrow over there, my man. Come on. Landed Vikings apparently are now also brought to the mix. It's so nuts, man. High-level StarCraft, it's just on a razor's edge the entire time. I just think back of the early days of StarCraft 2 where people are like, landed Vikings? Why would anyone ever land any Vikings? That's insane. But it makes sense, right? Like, you need some buffer here. This is a scary amount of Zerk, and those Vikings can kill a couple of units. They can prevent those Ghosts from getting surrounded for free. It makes perfect sense. If you have them, keep them. Nothing wrong about it, or nothing wrong with it, rather. Alright, so this is nice, though. At the same time, by the way, bottom right corner will be taken. Oh, man. The game sense right here from Clem is fantastic. He's going to find out exactly what's going on here. He will see that base in the bottom right corner. Alright. I think that Serral has to be satisfied with the amount of bases that he's got right now, because it's going to be very difficult to secure another one. What he can do, though, is move on over in this direction. If the Terran player is in the meantime busy in the bottom right corner of this map, Ghosts once again running for their lives, but that does mean that the siege tanks are already going to be picked up, and that this base will be taken care of. I mean, the base in the bottom right corner, no way that one's going to live. It's going to end up getting killed here. Once again, though, man, these ghosts are putting in so much work. I wonder if it's the same ghosts. Stealth assassins. They don't even need cloak, though. All right. So this is a nice little move right here by Serral, moving on the left side of the map, getting those lurkers in a good spot. This Terran army is dangerous. We're now up to 12 ghosts and no good answer to those ghosts. There's Marines in the mix too and a couple of landed Vikings. I do not actually know exactly what Serral plans on doing against those ghosts. Usually you need Banelings, but he has decided to forgo those entirely in this game. Scan over here confirms the location right there of that lurker. Base in the bottom right-hand corner was not acquired. I think that Serral just wants to jump on his army, but so far that's not really happened yet. He's tried doing it a couple times, and he got into full surround a few times as well. The medevacs just keep all of this alive relatively well. Widowmine now added into the mix as well for the Terran player. I do not mind it whatsoever. Okay, one sniper right there. Softens up that lurker quite a bit. Moving on to the creep is still scary, though, so Clem decides to back off. Problem is, yeah, he's got this base right now, but that base is also gonna run out very, very quickly. And Infestor is chasing this army at the same time. One fungal growth can change this so quickly. Pay attention to that one Infestor. I mean, it's underneath the army right now. There it is, there it is! He gets a massive fungal growth on this entire Terran army! Terran runs away right away. Parasitic Bomb also goes down on one of the Medivacs, but I don't know if there's actually gonna be enough though for the Zerg player to continue pushing through this. Everything gets sniped, and while the Vipers apparently fly away there, yeah, Clem just healed everything back up to full HP very, very quickly, and Serral couldn't capitalize on it. He tries to capitalize by jumping on this army with the Lurkers, but it's not as explosive, I guess, right? It's not as explosive as a couple of Banelings getting some work done. Once again, look at this. Well, I mean, look at the spines, I suppose. I was gonna say the Terran player will probably connect with the snipes there. There's only a couple of lurkers in this area. Snipes go down before they can even really burrow. Widowmine comes up here as well. This expansion will actually be overwhelmed. Clem, you were so ridiculously far behind earlier. What in the world did you just pull off? Oh my god. What a game. Sick. That was awesome, man. That was really cool. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. It takes about 1 second, but it may very well help this video get picked up by the YouTube algorithm. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. But for now, thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.